Good evening, everybody. My name is Steve Rothenberg, and I'm the very, very, very proud director of the CRTC. I want to welcome, we're here. I want to welcome students, employees, faculty, staff, parents, guardians, siblings, grandparents, relatives, friends, and alumni to the 2021 CRTC Completer Ceremony, aka Comp Night. This year, the event is in our lovely grand parking lot, freshly blown by our janitorial and custodial staff, looking at its best tonight. You got to trust me that it's not that easy to get a room nowadays. So you know what? We took the place we could control. And the only thing we sought was to get every car out of the lot, and we succeeded in that beforehand. So this might be our last round in the parking lot, but let's make it the best. Tonight, to get started, I want to welcome Elizabeth Marino to the stage. If you can come on up, Elizabeth. She's a Concord High senior from Deerfield. She's a criminal justice completer tonight. Elizabeth this year did an extensive work-based learning experience with the Manchester Police Mounted Patrol Unit, and she excelled there. She's off to St. Anselm's next year. And if you could all please rise for the national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleam, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you, Elizabeth. I just want to recognize some honored guests here we have tonight. Superintendent Kathy Murphy, Assistant Principal Amanda Downing from Kearsarge, Assistant Principal Brian Emery from John Stark, Dr. John Connell, retired from Lakes Region, Professor John Connell from Lakes Region Community College, and I think a few others. We'll catch up. So, we asked tonight to do what's obvious, just respect one another with regard to social distancing. You guys have a great day so far, and we appreciate your efforts. Last night, I'm sure I may have inconvenienced some folks. I have a very brief, funny story to tell. So last night, I had to make the call early in the morning to cancel. So I went to the gym last night. It was a good place to go at 5:30. And every 5 minutes at 5:30, 5:35, 5:40, 5:45, I looked outside. And I was like, please, God, bring that storm. Come on. Come on. And, yeah, I say this loosely. Never underestimate the fragility of even us old-time administrators. I was like, oh, God, what's going to happen? I say that story because safety is a truly massive obligation for us. And the irony of that one night last night, in contrast to the Herculean efforts around safety in the past year, is sort of an odd mix. For us to stay open and create a safe place for on-site learning, which happened because of your help in the audience here. This is not a random event. was an unprecedented accomplishment around institutional safety and well-being. Far, far, far bigger than one night. But I was still dying at the thought of perfect sunshine at 6 o'clock. And in my little pea brain, I thought that if I blew it last night, that's what you remember about the year. So, when that storm hit at 6:15, I'm on 89, and my truck is swaying in the wind, I felt great. And you know what? Tonight's a pretty beautiful night. It worked out well overall, right? Maybe not for the people out here right now, but for you guys, it worked out pretty darn well. Tonight, we accepted 5 student speeches, the students to my right. Each is going to provide a different perspective on their CRTC journey. Hearing student voices without, and I say this with all due respect, graduation jargon you may have experienced in other visits to a graduation is what makes this night special. I urge you to lean in and listen. I'm confident you will find the stories of these students navigating a tumultuous year and staying focused on their studies, their physical and emotional well-being, and most of all, keeping a keen eye on their future. I think you're going to find that inspirational. These are the stories that will make you feel positive about the future of our communities and our country. So they're going to come on in a minute, and I'm just going to say a few reflective words. Someone was talking to me the other day. His basic premise was that no one could have ever anticipated COVID. But some organizations, just by their core long-term approach to growth and change and stability, were simply ready for COVID. That person turned to me and said the CRTC was ready for COVID, and added, using our vernacular, and the CRTC stood out. And I thought that was a great line. I stepped back and I thought about it. Last summer, we needed to lean on our value proposition more than we could ever dream of. We had to justify to a very skeptical and upset community that the CRTC needed to stay open and serve all students every day. It was our only way. Our value proposition, creating strong, trusting relationships, emphasizing student ownership of their pathways, and having a relevant and balanced curriculum was not new for us. That's in our bones. We were ready to make our case in the public, and we succeeded. I speak for our entire team here, our faculty, our staff. We're tired, but we're also ecstatic. We are so proud of our organization. Most of all, we form trust. We trust in each other to make this work. Trust across groups and individuals seems like something America is lacking right now, but it's omnipresent here at the CRTC. Thank you, everyone, for sticking with us and believing. To conclude my few thoughts, I wanted to share with you 4 tidbits of data from a survey we did of 549 students, most of our students, and 298 parents and guardians back in March. Those were good, large numbers of people. The entire data set made us proud, but I wanted to share with you 4 bits of data before I pass this off to the students. From the parent-guardian survey, the question was, the CRTC staying open during COVID has helped my students' social and emotional well-being. 80% said definitely, and 16% said agree. Those were the top 2 answers out of 5. Those of you do the math, that leaves 4%. From asking students, again, a COVID question, being part of my CRTC class community during COVID, how did it help your well-being? 76% said definitely. 13% answered mostly. Those were the top 2 answers in terms of affirmative. Again, 89% of students. Then 2 more bits. From parent-guardian survey, the CRTC has given my student an experience to talk about and share with our family. 70% agreed, and 22 definitely agreed, and 20% agreed. Again, the top two affirmative answers out of 5. 89% agreed we talk about this as a family. Lastly, and it's one that parents out here should feel really good about. Students, my CRTC experience has me looking forward to my future pathway after high school. 71% said definitely, 19% said mostly agree. Otherwise, 90% of them said, I'm looking forward to my future because of the CRTC. How about that? My operational philosophy is to serve. This data is affirmation for so many long-term efforts around things like work-based learning, our SPUR conferencing, onboarding new faculty, college partnerships, depth of knowledge curriculum, industry relations, setting school partnerships, and so much more. All of this is unique to the CRTC. We have forged our own path, our own identity, and our own success, and it feels good. Our numbers next year for enrollment, highest of all time. So with that, I would like to bring up the speakers. As I mentioned earlier, listen and lean in. These are not traditional graduation speeches. I think when you hear them, I want you to think of your own life and your own children and your own parents and how you grew up and think about what they're reflecting on. We call them these journey speeches. So the first student up is from our cosmetology program, Kaya May.
Good evening. My name is Kaya May. I'm a senior at Merrimack Valley High School, and as well as a completer and an ambassador for the cosmetology program. I am so honored to be able to speak to you tonight and share with you my CRTC journey. The cosmetology program has been a great opportunity not only to learn the fundamentals of the field, but to grow in other areas of life. Since the beginning of the pandemic, we lost most forms of contact. Our teachers and administrators had fought hard to get us into the building. Personally, for me, I took part in this fight, which wasn't something I would normally do. I reached out to school board members with my personal feelings and why I felt the CRTC should stay open full-time and in person. When hearing the news that we were not going back just part-time, but full-time every day in person, it was so exciting to see my classmates and friends every day, in person, of course. With being able to grow and connect with my classmates, I was personally able to bond with each and every one of them. My absolute favorite opportunity I participated in with the CRTC was being a 2-year ambassador for my program, as well as being a part of the CRTC Takeover Week. This gave me the opportunity to not only display my class happenings, but I was also excited to partner along with the criminal justice program and get to show what their day-to-day life looks like. Being an ambassador with the program, I had to learn public speaking, both online and in person. And as I had to speak to many parents and students about why the CRTC was a great fit for them. During the past year, I took the position of being an ambassador to a whole new level to reach students in a way that would be more relevant to them. So I started recording my class and turning all the footage into 30 seconds to minute-long clips to show what we were doing. The editing process was certainly the longest process, and I certainly lost motivation as it certainly was time-consuming. I did, in fact, get a spike of motivation when one of our videos had over 1,000 views on Instagram. Throughout class, I learned many technical skills while continuing to improve on areas where people are not usually expecting that are unique to the cosmetology program. For example, developing my fine motor skills as I worked on micro-precision cuts, waxing, manicuring, and pedicuring. Along with the working skills that I have, I needed to work on such a life skills with efficiency, patience, and finding balance in my work. Through our business unit, I learned how to use interviewing skills to not only give interviewing to other people, but to conduct myself in a proper way. I was given many opportunities to speak with people from the industry and understand their day-to-day lives as a cosmetologist, and also work alongside alumni like our lovely Allison from Salisi Salon, Aspen of Salon K, and many more, and also having the opportunity to meet and work with our industry partners such as Matt from Empire Beauty School and Sue of Concord Headlines. and many more who continue to volunteer with us and mentor us through our units. I love learning about the stories and how they grew and where they are today. And in my next steps of wrapping up high school and CRTC, I will continue to pursue getting into the radiology program at NHTI. I just wrapped up my early college spring semester and will be starting again this July to continue working on my prerequisites. Some of you may wonder why I chose this program, and truthfully, I wanted to learn more on how to do hair and nails. I never thought I would get as much out of it as I did. As I stated before, I have learned so much more in my time here than a typical braiding hair and doing men's haircuts. I discovered that I have a certain passion in life to help other people, starting in middle school when I was presented with many volunteering opportunities with the Friendly Kitchen in Concord, the Boston Dream Center of Boston, Massachusetts, and being a Sunday school teacher at Restoration Foursquare Church here in Concord. I won't keep talking much longer. I would like to leave you with a few final words as you continue your journey in life. Don't ever forget that each and every one of you are truly amazing people, and you have come so far from applying to your program, to your orientation, to your first day, and now approaching your last. I personally would like to thank the whole CRTC staff and teachers for making the past 2 years welcoming and life-changing. Congratulations, class of 2021. Thank you.
Thank you, Kaya. It's nice to just hear all those connections you've made in the community and recognizing those folks. Next up from our health science program, Elizabeth Downing and Haley LeBlanc.
Good evening. As we reflect on the past 2 years, which has been anything but normal, the combination of our determination and help from others has made it possible to make it to this point where we are able to speak to you about our graduation from the CRTC.
One of the best things about being part of the CRTC is that students can come from different schools and backgrounds, but we quickly realize we have so many shared interests. Through the experiences we have in CRTC, those shared interests develop into an exceptional sense of teamwork and a willingness to do the extra steps needed to succeed. Through the nature of high school, the journey is the same, yet everyone's destination is not. My name is Haley LeBlanc, and I'm a senior at Pembroke Academy. Next year, I plan to get a job working as a full-time LNA in a hospital, and the following year, I will start school at NHTI working towards my associate's degree in orthopedic technology.
My name is Elizabeth Downing, and I am a senior at John Stark Regional High School. I have participated in varsity soccer for 4 years and will spend the next 4 at Revere University working towards my bachelor's in nursing and playing on the women's soccer team. I plan to work with my LNA in a hospital setting during the summer and weekends.
The two of us standing here in front of you today came from separate backgrounds before our junior year, both living our own lives. But we have come together at CRTC through one common goal, our passion for health science. Our plans for the future reflect our ability to diversify from the common ground of health science as one of us become an orthopedic tech and the other come an RN. The CRTC has provided opportunities for us we did not even know could happen. One such opportunity has been the speakers we had the pleasure of meeting, specifically Alex Russo and Kaden Solsky. Both of them came into our class as speakers, representing their jobs and providing background on what they do. What stood out to us in the audience was how they used to be one of us, CRTC students. Seeing them out in the real world gave us confirmation that the path we had paved through health science can take us places. Both Alex and Cadence sat in the same seats as us, once mesmerized by the accomplishments of others. They have now paved their own way to the future they want to achieve and have already begun their career even though they were just students fresh out of high school. As we listened to them, it became a reality that what they do and who they have become can become our own reality.
As high school students, we have faced ups and downs, but our common ground has ultimately led us into this class. As a freshman, stress and uncertainty surrounded my decisions about the future, and I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. Said shortly, I was a huge ball of anxiety just trying to ride the wave out. We were all expecting to figure out our lives in college, not high school. Finding my true passion was not something that was a priority for me, but often made me anxious just thinking about it. I know as a health science student, I was not alone in this situation. This all changed when I took the jump in applying at the CRTC. I had no hope of getting in, but was simply doing it because I was told to by my school and by my peers. I thought, why not? On the first day of health science, I walked into the most intimidating yet welcoming atmosphere I could have ever imagined. There were some days I would cry on the bus ride home, fearful of failure and about to give up. And I had Mr. Bowman to blame for this. I constantly whined and cried about how hard he was, how mean he was to me, never understanding why he always picked on me. He is my favorite teacher now, but man, did he make my life very difficult. He taught me that with hard work comes sacrifice, but also reward. His attitude was exactly what I needed. I worked harder than I ever have before to succeed, striving for the highest grade in the class on all quizzes, tests, and labs. My determined attitude kept me going through these 2 years and was a driving factor behind my strong desire to continue my nursing education in college. What I have learned in my schooling here has been the influence others have and how we are always in it together. It happened to work out that I was not the only one losing my mind in Mr. Bowman's class, and I had others to lean on for support. Yes, I was challenged, but this challenge only showed me my true potential and how much I really could do.
We want to take this opportunity to thank all the students here at CRTC for coming to school and creating a positive environment that never limits other students' potential. We also want to give a big thank you to Emma Burbank for helping us write this speech. The passion each one of you holds for your trade is unmatched, and we only hope you will continue this in the future. Your dedication and hard work has not gone unnoticed. We were two different kids with two different paths, but were challenged in a meaningful way that helped us grow together. Remember to thank all of the people around you and to recognize everyone who has made an impact on your journey, whether big or small.
Mr. Bowman, it's always good to see you called out occasionally. So a brief intermission from our student speakers. We're going to call up Chef Mack, who he did take the walk around, and I thought he was just going to leave. He does not like to be recognized, but tough luck, Bob. Come on up. Yeah, it's a big round of applause for Bob. So those of you who know Chef Mack, he can quickly tell his career by his clothing. 20 years at the CRTC, a good 50 or so in the business. Bob would be the first guy to acknowledge that he's a regular, hardworking person. And I'd supplement that with what he says about the people around him, like that great Jim Valvano quote, right? Regular people doing exceptional things. Bob is an exceptional teacher. But the first thing you say that to him, he'll deflect it to those people around him. I think that the audience should know a brief story about Bob, and it's pretty amazing. So Bob takes great pride in attending the graduation ceremonies of all his current students. So he's hopping in his car, driving down from up north to go to John Stark or Hillsborough or Concord or wherever and make sure those kids see him. He's done that for 20 years. In addition, though, that's going to catch you by surprise, Bob goes to the college graduations of his students, and he keeps in touch. He does fundraisers to get those students scholarships. These are quiet things that happen behind the scene. I think Bob would deflect immediately and say, I'm no different than anybody else here. And I'll accept that, Bob, but we're going to miss the heck out of you. Bob McIntosh, everybody. All right, Bob. Hold it up there. Hold up high there. Now you can take a look at it.
I can only imagine. Thanks, folks. It's been a long, strange trip, but a wonderful one for 20 years, and I'm going to miss it. Thank you.
Next up, Madison Tobin from our Auto Tech program.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Madison Tobin. I'm in the automotive program. Feels great to be standing in front of all of you tonight. I just want to take a moment, congratulate all of our CRTC students that are graduating tonight with us. Last spring, we had to go fully remote. I can guarantee all of us standing here today, between tonight, tomorrow, we'll look back on this and we'll realize it was unexpected. And breaking expectations or different things you think is what I'm going to teach you tonight. I want to take a moment, step back, have everyone close their eyes, and imagine yourself in front of your car at your mechanic's garage. What do you see when the mechanic rolls out from under your car to greet you? I bet it's a man. Well, I'm going to change that image for you tonight. Before I signed up for CRTC back at the end of my sophomore year, I knew I wanted to do automotive. I've been turning wrenches since I was 8 years old. My dad was the one who got me into wanting to get into cars. Then I just heard one day, Madison, come help me, or it was occasionally, Maddie, follow me. Then it was just he had me doing my first oil change at the age of 8 years old. Most people would look at me, tell me I'm crazy for wanting to do automotive, telling me getting my hands dirty is for a guy. Never listened to them, really. Just did what I wanted to do for a career path. Yes, it made me stand out, but I did not mind it because I knew this was the field I wanted to get into. January 2019, my sophomore year. The day came where the first assembly happened to explain to us what CRTC had to offer. Then, with the next choice in the process of getting into a CRTC program was meeting the teachers of each program we chose for the preview day. Meeting Mr. Mayotte and Mr. Gregoire and the students that had the same interests as you felt pretty good. Seeing 4 females in the automotive classroom that day made me less nervous than I was. Let's go back to year 1 of automotive when we were doing engine repair with Mr. Mayotte. I thought putting back together an engine would be fun and sort of easy. Well, it did not go that way for me at all that day. I was putting my pistons back in, and I hit the crown of the piston, and the connecting rod went through my finger. Yes, that's right, through my finger. Well, almost through my finger. The only thing that saved me that day from breaking my finger was the acrylic nail I had on at the time. Yes, it's okay to laugh, because so did I. The guys in the class could have judged me or made fun of me, but they didn't. They treated me just like I was one of them, never singled me out or excluded me. Year 2 CRTC, in looking at colleges and post-secondary plans. I looked at many colleges and applied to 5 different colleges. I got accepted into 2 of them, Lincoln Tech Institute in East Windsor, Connecticut, and Lakes Region Community College in Laconia, New Hampshire. I have chosen to go to LRCC in the fall to continue my education in the Toyota T10 program. I've been planning on becoming a Toyota Tech for a few months to almost a year. Overall, these past 2 years have been one of the best experiences in my life. I do want to give a huge thank you to Mr. Mayotte and Mr. Gregoire for pushing through these past 2 years with us. If it was not for you too, most of us would not be standing here today. My CRTC experience definitely made me come out of my comfort zone, made me realize that standing out, doing something that is different from what everyone expected is something that I can do. Thank you.
Next up, Emma Hall from our Criminal Justice Program.
Hello! Congratulations, class of 2021! So I am definitely not the first person to tell you this, but we really have had an insane 2 years, and I'm so proud of us for making it through. So, you don't know me, but my name is Emma Hall, and I'm in the Criminal Justice Program. Well, I was until tonight. Now, it has been my goal for quite some time now to go to law school and become an attorney, and while I have a wonderful 4 years of college ahead of me before I get there, I am proud to say I'm off to Roger Williams University in the fall to study political science. I feel really prepared for the next 4 years and beyond into law school, and I can't really say I owe that to anything else but CRTC. I'm one of those people who makes a very detailed plan as soon as they know what they want to do. I figured out that I wanted to go to law school, so I decided to join CRTC. It seemed like the best, most advantageous way to accomplish my goal. I mean, I'm dedicated, strong-willed, outspoken, and I love to argue with anyone and everyone who will argue back. What better qualities for a lawyer, right? Now, in my mind, it was simple. CRTC is my path. Oh, how glad I am that I joined, because over the past 2 years, I have had the privilege with working with some of the most amazing people, like Mrs. Bowden, who was so encouraging in my quest for an internship, and Attorney Tasker, a local attorney in town, who has taught me so much about the legal system here in New Hampshire. Now, I would like to tell you a little story. Earlier this month, I was doing an internship at LeBeau and Tasker, a law firm in town, which was one of the most educational and rewarding parts of the program, and I was doing the filing. Yes, you heard me right. I was helping file legal documents. Now, one might think this is an extremely boring position, and I know one might think this because, as I was doing so, about 3 different people who worked in the office passed by me and said hello or gave me a smile, all which was quickly accompanied by, "Oh, you're doing the filing," or, "So, they're making you do the filing, huh?" I just smiled and shrugged it off and told them all I was happy to do it. The thing is, I could tell no one wanted to do it because it was tedious, boring, and they were important people with very important tasks. They have very much earned the right not to want to do the filing. But I haven't. Not yet, at least. Now, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. I loved every moment of it. Now, maybe it makes me a little odd, but I got to see what was going on with all the cases, and all the papers were super organized, which I love, and I got to see how offices run. And the best part, I got to use the hole punch, which was really cool because it was one of those like electronic ones that does 50 papers at a time, and I love that kind of stuff. So it was truly a learning experience, and I got to see all the little things which make a law office run, which keep it going every day. All the little things which hold so much importance. Now, if I have learned anything from my time here at CRTC, it is that, especially in the criminal justice system, we all need to work together. The key to getting all the work done, whether you are in the law office or out in the field, is working together to understand each other, to complete all of the little things which keep the criminal justice system running. We need to finish the filing so we can go to court, but we have to work together with respect and dignity to finish the filing. I think I knew this before my internship thanks to CRTC, but if I did not know it then, I certainly know it now. CRTC has taught me so many big things, but when I look back on how I learned them, what I value most are all the small details I learned along the way. Tediously doing the filing is a learning experience, and while it may not be very big, it is a small part of legal work that makes the office run each day. A small part of working together so that each piece of the puzzle works. Without organized legal files, all the people who organize them, lawyers, would never get to anything done in court. So, one day, I sincerely hope I've put in my work and collaborated with the people around me to do the stuff that counts. I hope one day, when I see the intern in the office doing the filing, I can say, "Ah, doing the filing," with a bemused yet knowing expression on my face. Until then, though, I'm just fine doing the little jobs because I know that's the stuff that counts, and I have CRTC to thank for that. Thank you all for listening, and a special thanks to Mr. Rothenberg, Mrs. Bowden, and my entire criminal justice class for making this an experience I know I will take with me forever. Congratulations, class of 2021.
We'll all never look at filing the same way. Last but not least, for my education and behavioral science class, Casey Zarnecki.
Hello everyone, and thank you for coming. My name is Casey Zarnecki. I'm a senior at Hopkinton High School. I'm proud to say that I'm graduating from my second year in CRTC's Education and Behavioral Science program, or EBS. I'm in my second year of this program because I discovered I want to be a high school history teacher. To say these aspirations started years ago in a child with a dream sounds wonderful. However, it would be a complete lie. When I first heard about CRTC in January of my sophomore year, I was sitting in my school's auditorium listening to an automotive CRTC ambassador and a health science CRTC ambassador talk about their experiences. I hadn't the faintest idea that in a short year I would become an ambassador myself, and it would be me on that stage telling students of my own journey with CRTC. That day, I remember I opened the flyer they had handed out and started looking through the list of programs they offered. There were so many amazing options, but I wasn't drawn to any in particular until I saw the automotive program and the theater program. Yep, that's right, automotive and theater. You're probably thinking, how does this have anything to do with becoming a teacher? For me, that's why my experience with CRTC was so special and unique, because honestly, I stand here today asking the same question: how did I end up wanting to be a teacher? The answer is, in its most simplest form, CRTC. CRTC always has a program preview day in February where students who are interested in a class or program can go visit and see what it's like. I couldn't pass up this opportunity, and to make it even better, it got me out of Algebra 2 class for the day. I remember being told I could only pick 2 programs to preview. I was very intrigued by automotive, but I knew it was not something I necessarily wanted to pursue. Instead, I previewed EBS. I was like, oh, that sounds cool. I'll go play with some preschoolers when I'm supposed to be at school. Like, who wouldn't want to do that? But what I didn't know was that the second I walked into that classroom, I would fall in love with teaching. I was so eager to start ever since my first visit to Abbott Downing Elementary School, where our own high school class was held every day. I walked in for that first day surrounded by a class full of students I didn't know. If you're familiar with Hopkinton High School, it's not new news that we're very small. I have 73 kids in my graduating class, therefore I know every single one of them by name. So to walk in and not know anyone was an entirely new feeling. Being in a classroom with people who all share the same interests also makes it easier to get along, and we bonded very quickly. We all want to be there and chose to be there, and every one of us continued to prove that every day. That's what it is to be a CRTC student. The second I saw the EBS curriculum, I was drawn to it. Not only was I going to learn how to interact with students and what words to use in certain situations, but I was also going to learn all of the psychological aspects of teaching. For example, I learned how a child develops and at what age they should be talking or walking. I learned how children learn and how to identify those who are not learning or developing as quickly as they should be. There was so much behind-the-scenes information that I had never even thought about. So much more goes into teaching than I had originally realized, and with every unit, I continue to be exposed to more. Just a few weeks ago, I read a case study on a student struggling with ADHD, and I wrote her entire IEP. I never imagined I'd be doing something like that, yet here I am. This class has taught me far more than I ever imagined, because not only did I learn about how to be the best teacher I can, all thanks to our amazing Miss Cook, to whom I owe so much, but I also learned about myself and becoming who I was meant to be along the way. I learned quickly that teaching preschool was definitely not my calling, as I had originally thought. Preschoolers are demanding and energetic, and at the end of the day, I felt relieved that it was over. I worked my way up through the grades doing fieldwork at my old elementary school, Maple Street School. I worked with Mrs. Jakes, my own 5th grade teacher, and Mr. Wells, my younger brother's 6th grade math teacher. Through Mrs. Jakes, I had the opportunity to work with 4th graders as well. While I enjoyed working with them far more than the preschoolers, I still couldn't see myself pursuing a career in teaching elementary school. In May of 2020, after finishing fieldwork in the elementary school, I got my list of classes for my senior year, and I was beyond excited to see that I had gotten asked back to my second year in the EBS program. However, I noticed it also lacked a history class. I wasn't able to balance both history and CRTC, and it was very upsetting. History was so important to me that I was completely torn between CRTC and a history class. It was an obvious choice, as CRTC would give me 16 college credits, which is the equivalent to an entire semester of credits. However, it was still hard. I remember crying at the realization that I may never have a history class ever again. That's when I knew I just needed to teach history. History has always been so fascinating to me. The double-sided nature of it provides opportunities for debates of what happened versus what should have been done, while still having the black and white sense of what actually happened. In January of this year, I reached out to my sophomore Honors American History teacher, Mr. Meserve. I emailed him asking if I could observe and possibly student teach in his sophomore class, the same class I sat through and loved every minute of 2 years ago. He was very fond of the idea and emailed me back almost immediately. I started that week and am still currently going to his classroom twice a week to both observe and teach. I'm so in love with the subject that I could talk about it for hours. So when I was able to talk about it in front of a class for the first time, it all just clicked. It felt right, and I knew I was where I was meant to be. I'm going to Southern New Hampshire University next year while I'll work towards my bachelor's degree in social studies teaching. As I said earlier, I've already received 16 SNU credits through CRTC, and I feel extremely prepared for college thanks to everything CRTC has taught me. Knowing that I will be able to not only pursue my newfound interest in teaching when I get to college, but also be able to incorporate history into my future has me more excited for college than ever before. Ironic when I had sworn that I wasn't going to go to college just 2 years ago. I want to thank our EBS teacher, Miss Cook, along with Miss Jen and Miss Melissa, our preschool teachers, and Mr. Rothenberg for putting so much pride into being a CRTC student. And even though he is not present, I also want to thank Mr. Meserve. Not only did he make my field work experience fun, but he also inspired my love for history and encouraged it to grow 2 years ago and currently. But most of all, I want to thank my EBS class. All of you have been such a big part of my high school experience, and having the opportunity to become close with each and every one of you have made these past 2 years amazing. I appreciate all of you greatly. Thank you.
All right, we're going to switch gears at this point and do our certificates. So I'm going to ask that the cosmetology students, looks like they're already there, and our emergency services students start heading over. Those are the parents, everybody. If you guys are near the fence, if you guys could just tuck in a little bit, that's where all the students are going to line up. Nothing major, just a tiny bit, just to make sure they have the room. So we're going to call everybody up in a minute or so. Just want to go over a couple minor things. We want to thank Crystal Haskell right in front of me over here. She's came in very late in the game to be our photographer tonight. We want to say thanks, and also her son's finishing up tonight. A little bit about how this is going to work. Students over there, as they come up, are wearing masks, which is great. The student and the teacher interaction is going to be led by the student. They want to do a handshake, they want to do a fist bump, they want to do an elbow bump, or none of the above. It's really up to them. Teachers will respond accordingly. If I do slip up for those students in line, raise your hand and we'll adjust very quickly and make this work. All right, so I usually say, Miss Kim, are you ready over there? You're ready, okay. So from the cosmetology class, Kaya May. Elena Davila. Hannah Day. Riley Goodwin. Sophia Gouet. Amber Hibbard. Jillian Hurley. Elena Cadle. Jocelyn Latalian. Gabrielle Lundeen. Amber Marsh. Liesel Robinson. Carly Saltmarsh. And Mackenzie Wiggin. If the graphic design class can start heading up there to line up, that would be great. And next up is our emergency services program. Now, we have a diverse set of students, and we have a special guest here tonight. Our Lieutenant Jim Duckworth, who's our coordinator for the program, had a family emergency. So out of the bullpen tonight is an honored guest, Dr. Connell, retired professor at LRCC, who taught a college class with these students a year ago fall. So he's come to help out with Brian Bowman also. So the following students, and thank you, a big round of applause for Dr. Connell. Good to see you. The following students did a very diverse program. Some of them went to the fire academy, as you see, and got their firefighter 1. Some went up to LRCC and Grand State and got their EMS. And some did their EMT here at Concord High. And one of our students also went off and did her EMT Advanced. So it's a pretty incredible story. So emergency services program. Michaela Anderson. Olivia Anderson. Sadie Barton. Braylee Booker. Stephanie Dodson. Emma Ferguson. Hayden Gardner. Brady Haywood. Haywood Minery. DeAndre Mitchell. Bridget Morrill. Peter Sargent. And Shannon Tyrell. There you are. So in line right now, Health Science, Ms. Bean, and Health Science, Mr. Bowman should be in line. And now for our graphic design program. Mr. Mungovin, let me know when you're ready. Ready? I think he's ready. Good. Maria Armaganian. Kala Chen. Damian Clark. Akacha Colby. Ethan Davis. Julia Dion. Ashley Francois. Hayden Goyette. I'll slow down a little. Jacob Halleck. Raya Hanserik. James Harvey. Matt Kraus. Caitlin Levesque. Daisy McDaniel. Nate Mueller. Stephen Newton Delgado. Leo Peasley. Erin Peralt. Faith Regner. Graham Roberts. James Surrett Jr. Robert Shaw. Caleb Terrio. Jessica Willie. And Sierra Wilson. Mr. Bowman's class should be lined up, and then theater and film behind him. I think Miss Bean's class is up next. Just a reminder for students, you choose whether it's a fist bump or an elbow bump or a handshake or none of the above. It's your call. And look at the photographer, please. And if you don't, Miss Strongwain will make sure you show up there. That's your job. Miss Bean, are you ready? Okay. Alexis Adams. Benin Algoodbowie. Maya Apachel. Tara Norell. Jordan Babonis. Mason Boudreau. Emma Rose Burbank. Brooke Busted. Sonia Chin. Amy Cohen. Brandon Kameri. Elizabeth Downing. Michaela Fisher. Rose Forner. Abby Gobus. Barry Gurton. Ella Gustafson. Michaela Harasco. Haley LeBlanc. Jordan Lengel. Emily Michelson. Shelby Miller. Sage Murphy. Emma Nakuchi. Megan Reynard. Amaya Simmons. Madison Speckman. Emma Tork. And Elizabeth McNair. And this is basically our LNA class, Miss Bean, and really incredible results on the LNA exams and getting folks into the medical field right now. So right up now we have Mr. Bowman's EMT health science class, and after that theater and film acting, and then theater and film production. Let's make sure we're on there. Mr. Bowman, we're doing the EMT first, I believe. Is that all right? Okay. Kaylee Gilman. Haley Jawidzik. Yvette Kagarumpadu. Kaylee Magoon. Lauren Martell. Braden Matheson. Elizabeth Pavnik. Alexis Pratt. Sarah Prouty. Sarah Sponenberg. Riley Tangway. Kaylee Wentworth. And Jessica White. I know, Mr. Bowman, a lot of these students are just receiving good news and passing their EMT National Registry, right? Let's wrap it up right here. There you go. I went a little too fast. I apologize. Mr. Bowman, we got a lot of good news today coming from the National Registry about students who passed the EMT exam, right?
Yep, so one so far and more taking the test.
Great, great. All right, our next group up is students who did an ELO. So really, instead of doing LNA or EMT, they went out and did a deep dive in something of great interest to them. These presentations were incredible. First up, Kariza Kayabyab. Rachel Clark. Priscilla Durst. Caitlin Lord. McNeil Matthews. Tabitha Nugent. Allura Spinelli. Alexandria Stevens. All right. Do we have two? Jen, I think I'm missing two on this list right now. Did I get one? No, we're good. Oh, I went too fast again. Gets me panicked that I forgot somebody. And now, last but not least, our theater and film program. First up, our acting, and then our production and design. Mr. Close, are you ready from behind the scenes to come forward? David Andrusakis. Bailey Carmody. John Cross. Riley Hammond. Charles McKee. Madeline Manchester. Thomas Oglebay. Jacob Orlin. Benny Pham. Perrin Reinert. And Michaela Ray. All right, next up is our production design, and then after that is our, I'm going to call our one-and-ones. I think they know what they are, right, Mr. Close? All right, good. From our act, theater, and film production design, Dana Buswell. Hayden Lamoureux. Merrill Reese. Lucy Spidell. And then the students who did 1 year of each, but the 2-year completers, Ashley Hodson and Lyle Setnick King. And believe it or not, with that, it's 6:31. I'm going to say a few thank yous at this point and a few last words, and we're going to wrap it up. My reflection for everybody here, all our students graduating, take every opportunity. Say yes to opportunities. Don't worry about the extra hours, the overtime, the weekends, the pride, the plans. Don't take on a big car payment. You're going to stand out, like our motto, when you're willing to make it happen. So go out of your way and take opportunities to grow your career. That motto, be prepared to stand out, we don't take lightly. So tonight, I want to say thanks to Jennifer Strong-Rain, who's filling in as our program coordinator, our admin assistants, Paula Smeichel and Lauren Vessels, other folks who helped, Beth York, Dave Moore, Amy Smith, Mr. Close and his PA team, Dan Gontars, our facility head, and ultimately I want to say thanks to our teachers. Let's give a big round of applause. We have a crew of people who have great camaraderie, great commitment. We're a terrific team, and this year showed it, and we want to thank everybody. So folks, thanks for coming. We appreciate you being here, and now we're going to kick you out of here because we got our next crew coming in. Thanks, everybody.